Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the James Bond Retrospective. I'm Mark Bridge, and I'm here with Zach Wojner.
Hey, that's me.
So, we're here with the final Timothy Dalton James Bond movie. Only
End
two.
of an era.
Yeah, man. Right at the end of the decade, the 80s. Say goodbye to the 80s Bond. And then we'll welcome next week the 90s Bond. But yeah, so this is the second movie, License to Kill. And as I said this last week, this was the first film, not the first Bond film that I've seen, but the first one that I was aware of that was like a James Bond film. Thought it was the only one for a time. I even thought The Living Daylights was a horror film. And then, like, throughout growing up, I realized, oh, it's an expansive franchise, and License to Kill was only one of many. And it would be at least 5 years after that I see a new Bond film being talked about, which was the Pierce Brosnan Bond film, but we'll get to that. Um, so with this movie, License to Kill, which came out 1989, July 10th and 14th, United Kingdom first, and then United States after. It had a, I guess, modest budget at the time, 32 million, or would you call that big budget? Who knows? Can't tell time these days in money. Um,
I don't know. Is that more? What was the budget for Living Daylights?
so Living Daylights, let me check right quick.
Yeah, it says that was 40 million,
Oh,
and
Living
it is
Daylight?
it is a bigger movie.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, and you could tell once Living Daylights came out, the conversations began about what to do with the next Bond, and a lot of them agreed. The writer, Napalm, what's his name?
Richard Maybaum.
Maybound, yeah, keep it. Richard Maybound and Michael Wilson wanted to sort of ground it more or return it to the Ian Fleming Bond. So I guess that kind of lowered the budget. But ironically enough, it didn't do as well at the box office in the United States. I guess worldwide it made its money back, but it was considered a commercial failure in the stateside, which is probably what facilitated the change to a new Bond. I'm not quite sure. I didn't do a deep dive
There's
reading.
more to there's more definitely more to it than that. In fact, it's even a little bit of a misnomer that when I was doing a little bit of research, I was kind of surprised that it made as much money as it did because it kind of has the reputation of being the Bond movie that that failed at the box office.
Right,
Um, but I feel like that's a little bit more of something that was invented in hindsight
right.
to help explain the 6 year gap between this and Goldeneye.
Yeah,
But it definitely underperformed, but it was not a bomb.
right, right. Um, so yeah, it definitely, when you watch the film, it felt, as opposed to the previous Bond movies, a more grounded affair. Except for like when Q came along and brought, what did he? I think what gadget did he bring?
The plastic explosives
Yeah,
disguised as toothpaste,
yeah,
the X-ray laser that somehow gets an X-ray of a photo on the wall.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
and
they,
of course, the explosive alarm clock guaranteed never to wake up anyone who uses
yeah. So it didn't fully go away from the Bondisms of that era, but it did for the most part until Q approached. Felt like it was just a regular movie about an MI6 agent going rogue. I think probably was this the first movie that featured him going rogue from MI6. I'm trying to remember.
Um,
Because there's
I mean,
afterwards there was a lot of those like fucking Daniel Craig's Bonds. Feels like the entire franchise was him going rogue, his movies. But
yeah,
this one,
Mission Impossible style.
yeah. But
Um, yeah, this might be the first time that he really goes rogue. I feel like maybe he went rogue on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It
probably,
might be an element of going rogue there.
yeah. But this
Maybe.
movie, yeah. But this movie was the central theme because the movie was actually called "License Revoked" originally, and distributors were concerned that Americans wouldn't get know what revoked means, hence the title change. Now I want to go on a little side tangent here, just for a second.
Hmm.
When I heard that, and it just brought me back to when Harry Potter, the Philosopher's Stone, was changed to the Sorcerer's Stones for the American audience because Americans wouldn't know what a philosopher is. And I gotta tell you, it brought to mind. I mean, this, you know, it's almost like a contributing factor to where we are now politically and why there's an idiot in the office. Is that we took pride for the longest time to being fucking stupid, right? We didn't try to at least elevate people. Like, okay, we don't know what revoked mean. Well, look it up, motherfucker, right? Like, try at least give us credit by by elevating our minds a little bit, but not keeping us dumb. And now we're so fucking dumb. We elected the dumbest person on the fucking planet. You know what I mean? And it just it irks me a little bit just knowing all the excuses that Hollywood gave when it came to doing intellectually stimulating properties and go, oh, the audience won't like that, so let's dumb it down a little bit. Let's keep dumbing it down. It's like, yeah, you dumb it down to where now we're actually dumb and we're living in the film, which is now pretty much a documentary, Idiocracy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my tangent. I just had to say it there. I just do my little tirade. But yeah, so it was originally called License Revoked, and now it's
Yeah, I
called.
guess what I would add to that is just uh, possibly apocryphal, but I really think I don't think it is. I think it's a true story. The legend goes that when comparing McDonald's and Wendy's hamburgers,
Mm-hmm.
Wendy's made a big deal out of the fact that their burgers were a third of a pound,
Right.
whereas McDonald's hamburger patties were a quarter pound.
Mm-hmm.
And when asked which they preferred, Americans said that they preferred the McDonald's ones. And when asked why, they said because a quarter of a pound is bigger. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think
It's
that we're dumber than we've ever been,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
we were pretty dumb to begin with.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like if our media is trying their best to acclimate to our dumbness instead of like all collectively thinking, no, we should aspire to be better than this, then we're constantly gonna be fucking stupid. You know what I mean? It's like put some, take the risk. You know what I mean? Say what you want about Christopher Nolan. Some of his movies are hit or miss for me, but at least he tries to make big budget movies that are not catered to the lowest common denominator when it comes to intellectually thinking about things. He may go
Aren't
too
they
far
though?
sometimes. I mean, he may go too far in trying to overly complicate a movie that doesn't need that much complication like he did with Dunkirk. It's like, why was that movie told out of chronologic, out of sync? It
Well,
was like
I
just
don't mind that. I'm thinking more of like, my joke about Christopher Nolan is that he either makes smart movies for dumb people or dumb movies for smart people.
right.
And I think it's the former. Like I think of just Matthew McConaughey being like, "Wow, it's like we're seeing time. Wow." I mean, like,
But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
at least
we know, dude.
yeah, but at least he tries. You know what I mean? It's like, he's not necessarily thinking of, oh, I'm going to make this movie so that, the average person can understand if they don't understand tough. You know what I mean? That's how I see it anyway. And then I would say the same thing for the Matrix Reloaded and Revolution. Well, mainly the first Matrix and the second Matrix. Revolution, even though I love that movie, was straight up like a war film. You know what I mean? You don't really need to understand what's going on in that movie. But yeah, I just feel like there's only a certain amount of filmmakers or a certain amount of storytellers or studios or even authors willing to say, no, you step up to my level, right? Like the Song of Ice and Fire books. You know what I mean? Like his, George Martin's writing style is easier to understand than Tolkien, but at the same time, it's not dumbed down. It's, you really have to pay attention to the words to get to grasp the entire thing. And I feel like the studios and corporations trying to cater to the lowest dominant denominators led to the dumbing down, or as you said, like kept us dumb long enough for us to eventually, elect an orange demon that has the IQ of a fucking gnat, to run our country.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, you want to try to meet people where they're at,
Yeah,
but you also want to try and pull them up a little bit.
exactly. All right, rant over. Let's get back to License to Kill.
License
Um,
to Kill, Timothy Dalton, Florida,
yeah, so
exotic locale of Florida. We spend quite a bit of time there.
exactly. I don't think we went to England, right? I mean, well, for like that one shot with Miss Moneypenny and Q. Not
Yeah,
Q.
which is
M.
uh yeah, M.
Yeah, yeah,
Poor Moneypenny. She has one scene.
yeah. One scene. Did she just have one scene in the previous one too?
Yeah, but but at least she had more than like 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah,
She has like literally 1 minute of time in
yeah.
this one.
Um,
Poor Caroline Bliss.
yeah. So she comes back for this one, but she'll be changed for the Bond ones, right? Samantha Bond will take over the role.
Yep.
I think, believe. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome name, by the way.
Yeah.
And then, like we mentioned, it's Timothy Dalton, his last film. John Glenn, also his last film directing. I think it's Richard Maybaum's last film too. Even though he partially wrote this one because there was a writer's strike at the time, so Michael G. Wilson had to completely take over writing on this one. It may be Michael G. Wilson's final Bond writing credits as a writer as well, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, it's his last one. He had 4 Oh no, that's Richard. Which what's the fuck, Michael? Oh yeah. It's with Richard. Yeah, so he had For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, A View to a Kill, The Living Daylights, and License to Kill, which is his last writing credit.
Yeah, and after this, Michael Wilson would transition to being a producer.
Yeah. And then now for the Bond girls, which is two, most of the Bond movies have two. One is usually a bad girl or a lesser Bond girl. But we have Talisa Soto, who is Kitana in Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
Actually, there's a couple of Mortal Kombat people in this movie. Carrie Hiroyuki, who played Shang Tsung, is
Yep.
a cop in this one.
The
Yeah.
Hong Kong drug.
But yeah,
Oh yeah, Hong Kong narcotics.
yeah. But yeah, Talisa, she's gorgeous lady, man.
It makes
She,
up for her inability to deliver a line.
yeah. So she plays.
I love you, Talisa, but boy oh boy, you're a little rough in this movie.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, she's not. She's not given a whole lot to do other than being,
I mean,
subservient.
she's supposed to be convincingly sad, and I
Right.
am not convinced. There's a lot of potential depth to her character that's almost like it's in the script. It's not in anyone's performance, really, where she's just kind of like happy to bounce from whoever's powerful to whoever's powerful.
Exactly.
She
That's what I'm
latches on
saying.
to Bond because he represents like a way out, and then at
Yeah.
the end he just like pawns her off on the president.
Yeah. Right. But wait. So that's what I'm trying. But wasn't the empire left to her at the end, or was it just like, no, you have to go with the president to feel financially free again, or something like that?
Yeah, no, I think the empire was dismantled. You know.
Jesus.
Like so,
So
someone will show up to fill in that gap, but
yeah.
a, I don't think she's good with numbers. The character, not
Yeah. Yeah.
Tilly
Yeah.
Sassoon.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
seems great. I love Mortal Kombat, but the character, I love the little, I spent the night with James. I love James so
Oh my
much.
god, I cringed when that scene. I was like, what? You
So
met
did
this man
Pam.
it's 2 seconds, right?
I know. So did Pam because right after she leaves, she's like, "I love James so much."
Right. So Talisa, she plays the girlfriend of the bad guy, Sanchez, played by Robert Davi, who's pretty much a bad guy in every fucking thing he's in.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything noteworthy lately. Unfortunately, he's in a lot of
Right.
straight DVD drivel,
Yeah.
but he had a moment. He was really good.
Yeah, he was. I liked him as a bad guy in this one. And
Yeah,
then
definitely.
the other Bond girl, Pam Bouvier, played by
Yep.
Carrie Lowell. She starts out. When you first meet her, she's like a hard edge biker bar. Kicking ass and stuff. But that as the movie goes along, she becomes a, a jealous spawned girlfriend. Like really?
Yeah,
Like
she gets a little jealous, but because she's sassy, I think she's great uh, in this. I think like all of my complaints that I had with uh, Miriam Dabo in the last movie, it
mhm,
feels like she's directly, uh, you know, meant to counter. Like she actually does stuff. She kicks
yeah,
butt.
yeah,
She has her little feminist moments. The today they'd be calling this movie woke.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
She's an ex-army pilot and a DEA informant. Yeah. So when you get introduced to her, she has a big shotgun. Yeah, right.
yeah, that she blasts a almost cartoon hole in the wall with the
Yeah.
shotgun.
So, they definitely wanted to set the tone with this Bond girl that she's not your typical Bond girl. She's a badass first, but once Bond gets into the picture, which, like, as soon as they have that first action sequence, he's tonguing her down already. Like, wow, dude. It's like you
Yeah,
just met her.
it's great because like when they do bang on the boat, it's kind of a banging of equals as
Yeah.
opposed to Bond kind of being like, I'm bored, I want to bang someone. Who should I bang? As opposed to they're both just like, want to
Yeah.
bang? Yeah.
And then the other actor of note, Benicio del Toro as the henchman, the second in
Yeah.
command, his right hand man. Now, I gotta say this: Benicio back then, wow, what a looker, bro! What a
Yeah,
looker!
as gorgeous as Carrie Lowell and Talisa Soto are,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Benicio del Toro is the most beautiful person in this movie.
exactly. I was like, what the hell? Not to say he got ugly now. I mean, he's still a handsome fella, but Jesus, he was like a heartthrob back then, man.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. He was like 22. It was like one of his first projects,
yeah,
and the camera loves him.
yeah, and he did play a psychopath really well. Like, like he was more unhinged than than the boss himself. Well, let me take
Oh
that back
yeah.
because the boss did throw what's his name? The guy who was actually in Matrix Reloaded as the elder. What's his name? Let's see.
Uh,
Was it Everett McGill? Nope. No. Oh, it's Anthony Zerbe or Zerbe Milton, who played the other guy who was in partner, who was in league, the drug
right. The
smuggling.
guy. I always call him not Robert Loggia.
Yeah. So he threw him in the decompression tank and turned that bad boy up, and then pull the hose so he just his decompresses too fast, heads explodes. It's like that shit was wild. So yeah, it's a Miami. It takes place in Miami, so I guess they're going for that whole Miami Vice feel.
Oh yeah,
The drug
yeah.
cartel.
That's where it gets a little too like like I love Miami Vice.
Mm-hmm.
When you give me Bond does Miami Vice, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm less objective because it's just like stuff that I like.
Yeah. So did
Uh,
you feel watching it? Did it capture the feel of Miami Vice in your opinion, or did it's just lip service?
I'd say it definitely takes advantage of the setting. Like the really sunny outdoor
Yeah.
setting, the costumes, um, the early on the truck going off the bridge. That's very taking advantage of that location.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's not full on, and it definitely shifts gears uh eventually, but just the idea of Bond taking on, a drug cartel is so mid to late 80s, and this is
Yeah.
definitely the mid to late 80s, post Schwarzenegger, post Die Hard kind
Yeah.
of Bond film.
Yeah. Yeah.
That puts him in that kind of situation in ways that previous Bond, like the closest we have to this is the last time he was in, well, not the last time he was in America, but the time before that in Live and Let Die,
Mm.
where he goes up against Mr. Big, aka Kananga. Um, and how different that one is, how that was the blaxploitation era of street level uh violence, and this is the Miami Vice era of that,
Yeah.
Scarface, cocaine, all of that. But I'd say it works, but especially because just tonally, we're inching, further away from old Bond, but we've still got, and this is why the movie isn't as radical of a departure as it seems on paper, because it's
Right.
still directed by John Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still got the writers who we've followed for the last 5 movies or whatever.
Yeah.
But John Glenn has such a unique, maybe not even unique, but known style, and you can tell it's the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it even when it gets crazy violent by Bond standards, and it boy oh boy it does. Um, it still has, the tap dancing moments. There's less shtick, there's less people in car chases getting whiplash, looking at stuff happening,
Mm-hmm.
the classic, Bond bystander syndrome, but it still feels like a Bond movie. It doesn't feel like Bond 2.0
Yeah.
the way
And I did.
the Craig movies were.
Yeah, and I did like the final set piece on the 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 trailers, like driving and
Oh yeah.
big explosions. That's and the small plane. Yeah, all that stuff was pretty cool. The stunts, as always, in James Bond, in the James Bond movies, still top notch. And again, you could see where a lot of those inspirations that Christopher Nolan took from, especially this one where Bond is repelling from the helicopter in the back of the biplane, and you can see that, and it was like, oh yeah, that's where he got the whole sequence from for Dark Knight Rises from.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I mean that whole sequence is
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
And
And
getting to see Felix in the field is a nice touch too.
so yeah, Felix. Speaking of Felix, they brought back the actor from Live and Let Die, which is weird. I want to say this. Another small tangent. James Bond is probably the only other franchise other than X-Men that did not give a fuck about timeline.
Yeah.
Right? Because last movie they had a completely different guy playing Felix, and they brought back a Felix that was from a previous movie,
From Live
which
and
is
Let Die.
old. Yeah, which is an older Phoenix than the movie that preceded this direct one. So it's like, who gives a shit? And then we'll see that later. But what's her name? Judy
Judi
Dench.
Dench.
Judy Dench starts out as M in Pierce movies, and then continued all the way over to Daniel Craig. Even though Daniel Craig's movies were completely different, like that was an actual reboot of the franchise. So yeah, they don't give a fuck really, and
Yeah.
I applaud them for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I just feel bad for the Felix from the Living Daylights,
yeah, it was like, oh, I could
Like
have
they
came
they
back.
all yeah, they all are only in one. This is the first Felix to be in a second movie,
Yeah, yeah,
which is hilarious. Like, but I understand the need to the desire to have a new Felix, or excuse me, to have an old Felix, given the character's relevance to the story, kind of wanting it to be a character that we recognize or remember.
yeah, yeah.
Um, to that end, I kind of almost wish that it was M instead.
Right. He can
That
get
we
married, but then he
because
would he have gotten married to an American? You know what I mean? Like, I guess the idea is that they want Felix because he's American to get married to an American to keep the film in America.
yeah.
Yeah. And then also I have to say this, right? So at the beginning, the opening of this movie, they're on their way to the wedding. It doesn't specify whose wedding it is. At least I don't remember if it specifies whose wedding it's going to be. All we know is Felix and Bond are in their tux. So one of them could be the groom. We don't know yet. And then they get sidetracked to retrieve Sanchez, which they fail. And I think it wasn't until like they actually parachute. No, they actually capture Sanchez. Right, my bad. They capture Sanchez, bring his plane in. They parachute out, land to the wedding, and then I guess that's when you find out. Oh, that Felix is the groom. But I gotta tell you, the bride seemed more interested in Bond than Felix. The amount of kisses she gave him, right? It was like, wow, she's passionately kissing Bond. Aren't you supposed to be marrying Felix? And even there was a point in it where Felix is in the scene, the same scene as Bond, and she kisses Bond first with a passionate kiss, and then kisses Felix just like a little on the face. I'm like, what the?
Um, I think she's maybe supposed to be seen as kind of bubbly. You
Right,
know, like maybe she's an exobond, and they kind of
right.
met through each other.
Right.
Um, at the same time, it could also just be kind of a relic of Bond being, this swinging '60s guy.
Yeah.
Sure, he and Felix have been to many key parties together.
I was like, oh my god, she has more character in Bond than Felix. I was like, oh my god, I feel bad for Felix here.
Yeah,
But hey,
she might even be kind of like a like not to diminish her as a character, but she might be a little bit of a retirement trophy for Felix,
right,
possibly. But
possibly.
it would have been nice to have a little bit more time with them before they get
Yeah,
wasted. But at the same time, you get enough. You get
they're
you get a little bit here and there. And one of my favorite scenes, which is, even though yes, the Bond movies are terrible with their timeline and keeping characters straight. Um, Great
right,
little moment when she throws him her garter and says that he has to get married next, and he gets very serious very suddenly, and he's like, "No, no, no,"
right.
and he leaves, and she's like, What did I do?" And Felix just says, "He was married once, but it was a long time ago."
Yeah, yeah,
And that's a great little, it gives so much more context to Bond going ape shit because it's about Felix, it's about Della, but it's also about how he could have been in that position.
exactly.
It's like he's avenging himself on. He goes back to that 1969. When he almost had his own happiness,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
gets to and has to see his own friend go through what he had to go through, uh, and avenge himself and his friend.
exactly. And then we gotta talk about Wayne Newton.
Wayne fucking Newton, bless your heart.
Wayne shows up as a one of them Shylock televangelists, um, who is basically just a fucking um, con man who takes advantage of the ladies that come there.
Yeah, but this soundproof.
Soundproof
Uh,
bedroom.
yeah. Oh no.
But she did take advantage of that, by did she pop him like shoot him somewhere, or no, she just shot in the
Nah,
air.
she just shot the wall.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but
The
yeah,
picture that was hanging on the wall.
yeah. So Wayne, I guess apparently has always wanted to appear in one of the Bond movies. So they finally found a role for him. I wonder if he was delighted that it was kind of a skeezy dude, or was he like, oh, you know what? I wanted somebody more heroic, but whatever, I'll take this.
Yeah, it's a funny thing where that whole his whole subplot, it is a thing with this era of Bond movies, really from the '70s all the way through, is that you could have cut that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I get it, I get where it fits in the movie, I get how it works, I get tonally, it's a nice little way to ease the tension, in a movie that is particularly tense.
Mhm, mhm.
But you could have cut that
Yeah,
or shortened it significantly, shave 5 or 6 minutes off of the movie.
yeah, yeah. Because this movie was what 2 hours and
It's like 2:10.
13. Yeah, yeah, 13, 10 minutes, 13 minutes. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
one of
it's not like there's a shortage of tangents. I mean, we got freaking ninjas up in here.
hell yeah, ninjas. Um, yeah,
Like
it's
like
a lot.
like like this movie has the reputation of being the dark and edgy, super serious Bond. Hey, it's got freaking ninjas.
I guess it's just the way it was shot. It wasn't really shot fantastically. It was just like grounded. I mean, wild shit happened in it, but it was just like shot very grounded. I guess what gave it its whole present, and the way how Um, how
And now,
Robert
now, mind you,
approached
I
being the
like,
villain.
yeah, I don't mind at all that there's ninjas,
Yeah,
but I don't think a Bond movie should be ashamed of being a Bond movie.
yeah.
Daniel Craig. Um, we'll get there. We'll get there. But oh, I don't go for exploding pens. But but you know, yeah, you got ninjas, and then they all get blown up by the Mexican army, and it's like weirdly sad all of a sudden. And then it just snaps to Bond waking up in Sanchez's private estate, and it's kind of like another instance of I'm glad that there's ninjas, but you could have scripted this to be a much more efficient. You could have found another way that would have taken less pages.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is the '80s. Ninjas was still a thing, around that time. So, you know, any excuse.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, I wanted to go on talk a little bit about Timothy Dalton and the legacy, but I want to end with that. So I want to touch upon the music. Michael came in and did the score. This is only Bond movie, but the first time I was introduced to Michael Kamen is he was the composer of the first X-Men movie. Um, but this was his only one, and he brought it back more to a traditional Bond sound, while Living Daylights was like strictly '80s vibe, synth and stuff like that. Um, this was more, and it's like I think it was the first Bond in a while that really didn't do any interpolation of the main theme into it. It was just straight up like a Bond theme throughout the movie.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One would be that the theme, the Gladys Knight theme, borrows so much from Goldfinger
Yeah, yeah,
that if they use that, that motif, it would just sound like Goldfinger.
yeah, yeah.
And two is that I don't think it's that great of a song,
I actually
but
like. I dig it,
I love
man.
Gladys Knight. But
Yeah, she
hearing
sing
it
the
again, I was kind of like, it's fine.
she sang the shit out of it. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, no, she
it's
sounds great.
yeah, yeah, but I guess you wouldn't call it a top 10 Bond song.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
a top 10 for me. Nothing wrong with it,
Um,
but I was
but
kind of.
I love it though.
Yeah.
I like the vibe of it. It's well, it's not in my top five. I would say that probably in my top 10, but not in my top five. Um, but it actually has another song at the end. I know there's a couple of other Bond films that did that where they had pretty much two songs, one at the beginning, one at the end. Um, I don't think this was the first one to do that, but it had Patti LaBelle, If You Ask Me To, which I didn't know she sung that song, because the first time I heard that song was Celine Dion. So I guess Celine Dion did a cover of it, which originally was sung by Patti LaBelle, If You Ask Me To.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the end credit song. But yeah, none of the songs were used to flesh out the musical score of the film, which my what I was thinking, because you gave a good explanation of why, but what I was thinking of why that wasn't the case was that maybe the score was done before the song was recorded, so they didn't know what direction they were going to take the songs, because I think most of the
Yeah.
time the songs are recorded first and then the composer takes it, or sometimes the composer works in tangent with the actual theme, the singers who were making the song, so they know exactly what to do. I know Hans Zimmer did for at least No Time to Die, where when Billie Eilish came on board, he was part of the process, so that's why you could hear the theme throughout that movie. But yeah, it's just strictly a traditional Bond score, to say the least.
Yeah, I also think that the the score using a lot of like Latino guitars, and kind of to to reflect Sanchez and
Yeah.
Mexico. Or I keep on saying Mexico. It's supposed to be in Central America, but it's clearly shot in Mexico.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, and you think of Mexican cartels, but it's really supposed to be like a not Colombia, you know.
Yeah.
But Isthmus.
Yeah.
But I think that that style of guitar like really works well with the Bond sensibility. Plays really well.
Yeah. So then we could finally end on this note now. Again, being this was Timothy's final Bond movie.
No, we didn't even talk about the sharks. We got
Oh
freaking
right.
sharks up in here,
I
and
mean,
just
this is
like
not
the
the first
level of
movie.
violence in this movie in general. Like first you got before anything even happens, you have Robert Davi saying like, hey, Benicio del Toro, take this guy and cut his heart out, all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
While you're
Yeah.
doing that, I'm gonna whip my girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Like
whoa! And then later you see her back, and Timothy Dalton's like, whoa, who whipped you? Hubba hubba. It's like, hey, Bond, stop it. Uh,
the actor.
we've got,
Yeah, the actor who
yeah.
played Sanchez, Robert Davi, said people who saw that scene who are into, S&M stuff wrote to him. It was like, "Ooh, that scene was a turn on for them." It's like, Jesus.
That's hilarious. I mean, maybe hilarious,
Yeah.
but
Right.
hey, I'm not here to king shame.
No
Uh,
king shim in here.
I'm the
Uh,
last person who should be doing that. But then you've got Felix getting his leg ripped off by a shark in a scene that, if you saw it in the movies in the old days, was censored compared to the DVD.
mm-hmm.
And I can confirm the version on Amazon Prime because I watched on Amazon Prime um last night,
Yeah.
and it was the unrated version.
Oh, nice.
As far as I know, you see the shot of Felix's stump leg, which is nasty. And then Bond just goes on an 80s style action hero archer rampage. Um, it feeds a guy to maggots, which is not actually what would happen. Maggots only eat dead flesh, so the guy probably just waited until someone opened
Yeah.
the drawer. Like, hey, can someone let me out? Bond's actually kind of dumb. Maggots aren't eating me, but they are really gross.
Maybe they're
But
enhanced maggots who evolved to
yeah,
now eat
magic
flesh.
maggots.
Yeah.
And the effect of the maggots is actually pretty bad. They just look like pasta.
Yeah, I was like,
But
what is that?
but but more effective is like him throwing the guy into the thing with the electric eel. Boom, we got
Mm-hmm.
a fried bad guy. Um, uh, Feeding Kitifer to the shark. That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of sharks
So
in this one.
so many good kills in this movie. Poor Sharky. When he gets captured, unfortunately, and Bond's like, "Oh man, I'm so mad I got my buddy killed. I'm gonna shoot you with a harpoon," and he does, and it's awesome. And uh, but freaking Benicio del Toro, he's beautiful, but that doesn't stop him from getting mulched.
Oh yeah, he might have gotten the worst because
That
it's
is a 10 out of 10 kill.
yeah, because it starts from a. I mean, the pain might have made him pass out by the time he got to his knees. Maybe I don't know how how much of a threshold humanity has with that kind of pain, but like Jesus, from
Yeah,
starts from his feet.
and you see chunks of Benicio getting all ripped up. Uh, like as as gritty and grounded and realistic as the PG-13 era of Bond would become. You can't show anything that violent in any of the Pierce or especially Daniel Craig movies. If someone bleeds, the MPAA has a tantrum.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? The MPA at the time, it was just hard to categorize the where to put certain movies. Okay, there wasn't f bombs, there wasn't blatant nudity, but there's gore and violence. But it's like, it's not enough to be R rated, but it's not. We don't have anything less than PG
Right, it
or
definitely pushes
or in
pushes the
between
limits.
PG. Yeah, so it's like,
Which is what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to push the limits.
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm not the only person to be on record saying that the PG-13 was a mistake
yeah, yeah.
of a rating. Movies are so sanitized these days. Like it's a we we go, oh my God, that's crazy when Captain America: The Winter Soldier has him have like a bruise on his face.
Yeah.
Uh, we're like, wow, that scene is so violent. It's like, is it? Is it that violent? Okay. Like, I don't know. I mean, I grew up watching Benicio del Toro get ground into chopped meat. Uh, and as we see Sanchez kind of deteriorate, he kills his own guy. He has the other guy impaled on the forklift.
Yeah.
Like there's so much, and then of course him getting set on fire with a genuine Felix lighter,
Yeah.
which
um,
is fantastic.
yeah, I like that idea too, where it was like Bond just basically so distrust within the organization, he just basically destroyed it from within. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let Sanchez do all the work until it came time to face off with Sanchez, and finally took him out. Um, but yeah, so Timothy, this is his second and last Bond movie. One more than George Lazenby, but not as much as the others who had more time to be solidified in the zeitgeist of Bond. So when people talk about who's your favorite Bond, Timothy will most likely never show up or be said. It's either going to be Sean or oh my god, my old head. What's his name?
So, and anyone who had more than two movies,
Yeah, Roger
you
Moore
know,
or Pierce Brosnan, which is I think is a lot of people's favorite because we're gonna go into that era now, and Daniel Craig. I think for the people who say Daniel Craig is their favorite, that's probably because that's the Bond they grew up on. Um,
yeah. I mean, I think for most people, whatever Bond you grew up with
yeah.
is your favorite. There's no way, there's no real way around that. You have a connection with the first person you saw
But
as
I don't know.
Bond.
I think I've seen people who during the Pierce era who like that was their introduction. I guess went back and seen the older ones
That
and
is true.
go,
I do
yeah,
know. I actually, now that you mention it, I do have a couple of really old friends
yeah,
who are like Sean Connery era people,
yeah,
but have told me that Pierce is their favorite.
yeah,
I don't even know if Pierce is my favorite, but I mean, I love them all. But there's that thing with George and with Timothy where you're like, if I would like to like you more, but I don't have enough.
yeah,
There's not
yeah,
enough data.
yeah,
Like George Lazenby is probably the weakest part of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but that movie is just so friggin' good
yeah,
that you're just in it no matter what. And with Timothy Dalton, his two movies are so different where you go, man, he could have done anything as this character. Who knows what the next one would have been?
yeah,
But we only have these two movies that are both very different, but also both very 80s that we, don't get that breadth of material
yeah, yeah,
to really judge. We don't get to see him at his best or at his worst. We just get to see him figuring things out. Like we got, with Roger Moore, we got inexperienced Roger Moore figuring out what the heck he's doing in the first two movies. Then we got Roger Moore at like the height of his powers in the next three movies, and then
yeah,
we got old man Roger Moore who doesn't want to do it anymore. We got all the Roger Moore,
yeah,
just like we got all the Sean Connery, and eventually we got, I don't think all, but a lot of the Pierce.
yeah.
We just didn't get enough.
And we
Timothy.
definitely got all of the Daniel Craig. They even put a stamp on his ending. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to reboot that. Now I have a hot take. It's possibly a hot take on or unpopular opinion. Who knows? So just like how I think some people might view Pierce as the combination of Sean and Roger. Where you have he's like mix of both a little bit. I think there's a
Definitely.
lot. I think there's a lot of commonality between Timothy's portrayal as Bond and Daniel Craig. Like they share almost bullish.
Oh yeah,
Um,
totally. I
yeah,
think Timothy Dalton's Bond was reevaluated after Daniel Craig came out.
yeah,
Uh, you know, old school, literary bookheads
yeah,
were like, yeah, Timothy's our guy because he's kind of like uh the Bond that we read about. I mean, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when Bond goes into the hotel room after the whole ninja fiasco
mm-hmm.
and like pulls the gun on Pam and is like, "You sold me out, you crazy bitch." And she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Ah, like he's like really scary and like bug-eyed, and he's got the
yeah,
5 o'clock shadow, and he's sweating, and it's like that's a guy who's been smoking nonstop all night.
yeah, yeah,
Who, like that. That's kind of the literary Bond. That's Casino Royale Bond.
yeah.
Um, and after Daniel Craig kind of went back to the roots of the character in that way, I think a lot of people realized that Timothy Dalton had been doing it that way before anyone even noticed.
And then it's funny. I even noticed it more when Timothy was doing interviews for the film. I was like, wow, he almost feels Daniel Craig is esque in a way how he conducts himself during the interview. I mean, yes, I should say the reverse because he came before, but just going off my mental imagery of Daniel Craig doing interviews or playing Bond, I was like, yeah, it feels like they kind of approach Bond the same way, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess you can say those two are standouts for being sort of the hard edge Bond who really only plays lip service to the sort of um, flirtatious side of things, but for the most part, their primary goal is to, you know, bash heads and take names later.
Hmm.
Um, but as far as I guess Timothy's legacy is concerned, I mean, I don't think it's not like George, which a lot of people don't even know that there was a bond between Sean and Roger. They were like, oh, it
Yeah.
was. A lot of people think it went from Sean to Roger, and it's like, no, there was one guy between. But I could safely say that people know that there was a bond after Roger that's not Pierce. So I would say that he at least solidified that when it comes to the legacy of Bond. But unfortunately, he only had two. Um, and it's funny, like, I feel like he could have been in GoldenEye as well, like, you know, his version of Bond, and it wouldn't feel out of place. Like, you probably wouldn't put his version in Die Another Day, but I could see, or maybe not in World Is Not Enough. I really gotta watch that movie again. It has a special place in my heart. It's the first one I ever saw in movie theaters, but we'll get
Ah,
there. Um, but I could still see Timothy playing Bond in GoldenEye, and even Tomorrow Never Dies. Um, but you know, too bad it just never got. I don't know the full story. Like I said, I didn't do a deep dive in why they casted him. It's not like he was fucking super old or anything like that.
yeah, that's more of a story for next week. There is a story there.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find
and
out when I go behind the scenes of GoldenEye and stuff like that. Um,
yeah, like he was game, but he didn't want to sign up for multiple films.
gotcha.
Is part of the story.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, like he wanted to come back, but then he didn't want to sign on to a bunch of films, and then by the time they were kind of ready, they just wanted someone else. They wanted a soft reboot.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so that brings us to the end of this Bond. Oh, before I go, so I did ask you the question last episode. Out of the two, which one do you prefer? Because you said you had to rewatch this one to actually think about it, to
Yeah,
rewind
I
it.
mean, yeah, that's a good question. They're so different,
Yeah,
and I think that's a strength and in some ways a weakness by the fact that he only had two.
right, right.
Um, that they're so different. Um, I think if you want a traditional James Bond movie, if you want to watch a James Bond movie that's like a James Bond movie, go with The Living Daylights.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you want to see a little more 80s, a little rougher, a little more like the Bond series going, I don't know, let's try something different than License to Kill. Overall, which do I prefer? I'm inclined to think that maybe Living Daylights is a better movie,
Right.
but in my heart of hearts, it's License to Kill all the way.
Yeah, I feel the same way in terms of it kept it simple, right? It kept it simple in terms of the plot. It was not too many twists and turns where if I'm not paying attention, I'm like, wait, I'm lost. Um, and it does harken back to sort of those late '80s action film, like you said, like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, stuff like that. Um, just not R-rated, but they pushed it as far as they could. That they
Yeah,
could,
yeah, Robert Davi running around on fire.
yeah.
It's as close as you can get.
Yeah, so if they were allowed to do an R-rated movie, they could probably, you know, contend with the Die Hards and Lethal Weapons. But yeah, so I prefer that one. I love the Gladys Knight song. I can listen to it a lot. Even before I did rewatch of this movie, I have like a playlist of all the Bond songs in my title. And when he gets to hers, it was like, oh yeah, from there on up, it was like, yeah, it's gonna be bangers after bangers with
It starts great. I love the Goldfinger thing in it, but like
yeah.
I don't know, it's too corny. I don't like the key change and like the bum 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 bum. I got a license to kill and no bum bum bum, bum your heart. It's like, all right, come on. It's a little much. It's a little like I hate to be sassy about it, but it just sounds like grandma music.
I mean, it is a product of the '80s, so I mean, and
Yeah, but so are the previous ones. But like, I guess they're so
yeah,
unabashedly.
yeah.
Um, it's funny because we've had this conversation and we'll have it again. But like, I'm not as hot on Skyfall by Adele either, and that feels kind of
Ooh,
like an old timey Bond theme.
yeah.
The
I
way the way the
definitely,
way this one kind of is.
yeah, I definitely separate from you with that one. I think she did a bang up job on that one. She was
Yeah,
fucking.
I guess I like the ones that are even if I'm not necessarily into whatever the contemporary thing is.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I like it when the Bond songs feel contemporary.
Got you. So I guess you dug Die Another Day at the time it came out. Madonna's.
Uh, at the time it came out, probably not.
Oh.
I mean, I was 11, and 11-year-olds don't give a shit about Madonna. But 11-year-old, especially 11-year-old like rock and roll kids,
Right,
like
right,
like Madonna. Who cares? Who even is that? I've warmed up to it since then.
Yeah, because that's the most unlike Bond song. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another song that you probably think, or other people might think, it's the most unlike Bond song. But like that just felt like a top 40 hit than a actual Bond song.
Yeah,
Um,
like I know, like a lot of people really dislike the Quantum of Solace theme, but I love it. I think it's awesome.
that's the Jack White one, right? Jack White
Yeah,
and Alicia
Jack White and
Keys.
Alicia
Nah,
Keys.
that actually fucking sounds dope. That sounds like a Bond song.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
also sounds like hip and
yeah,
modern,
yeah,
and like the
yeah,
Chris Cornell one I think is great.
yeah.
Um, but we'll
We'll
get to
get to it.
those.
All right. So next week it will be the again not only the beginning of the '90s era Bond, but also the beginning of Pierce Brosnan, which is still I think a majority of Bond fans' favorite Bond. I think Daniel Craig is like maybe number two.
Maybe of our generation. I think the people still love Sean.
I
But
mean,
oh, I think
I think they say they love Sean because it's like he's the first, but like really truly they really love Pierce.
maybe. I mean, I
But
love Pierce because he's the only Bond I've interviewed. But we'll talk about that later.
nice, nice. But yeah, we'll begin with GoldenEye. And I can't wait to rewatch that movie with Famke Janssen. Which, if there's ever a Bond villain that you would like to die to, she would be the perfect one to die to. I'll die
Oh yeah,
smiling. All right.
Sonia, I can't breathe.
All right, so that brings us to the end. Zach, where can people find your work?
You can find my work at GameDaily.com and TVSquad.com. Find me on social media. Just search my name, Zach Woj.
Nice. And for me, find me on Instagram and TikTok, Mark Obridge, and you can find my other works linked in the description. Short films I did, and also a comic book that I wrote. 2 issues the second issue is going to be released digitally on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that, and hit the subscribe and the like button on these pages to get more updates. I'm trying to come back to this channel because I was focusing more on my Omega World Entertainment channel with the short films and stuff. So I'm trying to come back to this one to do more content. I had the video game movie for Final Fantasy VII on there, which did well. Well, Rebirth did astronomically well. It's like holy! I think that's the highest viewed video that I put on there. Over 300,000 views on that, and people are still watching it. It's pretty cool. And I also did Final Fantasy 16. And next year, I actually want to tackle Final Fantasy 12. It'll give me an excuse to play that game because I've never beaten it. So I finally want to play that game. So I'm playing it so I can put it up. So that'll be a next year project. So yeah, hit the subscribe and like. Get the notification bells to get notified when we drop new stuff. Alright, so until next time, folks, I want to say peace.
Indeed.